show up every day. You learn every line. You stay late when they ask. And every time you ask, so is this temp-to-hire job actually going full-time? You get the same answer. We're still deciding. Weeks turn into months, and suddenly it doesn't feel like an opportunity anymore. It feels like a stall.
Yeah, and on the other side, the supervisor's saying, "We just needed someone fast. We'll figure out the full-time piece later." By the time later shows up, the worker's frustrated, the manager feels boxed in, and the staffing agency is caught in the middle. Everybody's trust just took a hit.
This is exactly what we want to fix today. You're listening to Workers.com Staffing Pulse, Insights from the Frontline. I'm Jennifer, Personnel Manager, and your guide through the world of industrial and light industrial staffing.
And I'm Sam, Staffing Manager and fellow nerd about all things warehouse, manufacturing, and skilled trades hiring. Today, we're talking about the Temp-To-Hire bridge, how to use it so employers actually de-risk hiring and workers actually land stable, long-term roles.
We're going to keep this really practical. First, we'll define what temp-to-hire really is in plain language. Then we'll break down when it helps and when it hurts, what a good temp-to-hire playbook looks like, and finally, how job seekers can treat it like a 90-day interview instead of a vague maybe.
And we'll finish with simple action steps. One move for employers, one for job seekers, plus a quick 3-point recap you can take straight back to your next requisition or your next shift.
All right, let's start with the basics. When we say temp to hire, what we actually mean is you start someone as a temporary employee, usually on the staffing agency's payroll, with a clear potential to convert them to the company's payroll after a set period or when certain criteria are met.
Exactly. It's not just, we'll see what happens. At least it shouldn't be. It's like a test drive for both sides. The employer gets to see, do they show up? Do they work safely? Do they fit the culture? And the worker gets to ask, do they train me well? Do they respect safety? Is this somewhere I actually want to build a future?
In industrial and light industrial, temp to hire fits best in roles where you know you'll need that headcount long term, but you also know performance and reliability really matter. Think general warehouse, machine operator, packaging, assembly, forklift, those core production and logistics roles.
Right. Where it doesn't fit as well is super short, seasonal bursts, like a 2-week inventory project, or super specialized roles where the search itself is the hard part. Those might be better as straight temp or direct hire. Temp-to-hire is most powerful when the question is this the right person? Not, do we even need this role 3 months from now?
Let's also clear up 2 big misconceptions. First, for employers, temp to hire is not a way to avoid making decisions forever. If you keep people temp for as long as possible, you might feel flexible, but you're actually building turnover and mistrust.
And for job seekers, temp to hire is not the same thing as you're guaranteed to be hired on full time. It's an opportunity, not a promise. The power move is to treat it like a structured tryout, where you're constantly collecting information and showing what you can do.
All right, let's talk to the employers and staffing pros listening. You've got 3 main tools: straight temp, temp to hire, and direct hire. The question is, how do you pick the right model for the right role instead of just defaulting to temp to hire because it sounds safe?
A simple rule of thumb I use is this. If the work truly has an end date, project-based, seasonal peak, coverage while someone's out, go straight temp. If the role is hard to fill and you know you want a long-term relationship with that person, like a specialized maintenance tech, consider direct hire.
And Temp-To-Hire sits in the middle for roles where you have ongoing demand but high variability in performance. Maybe you've struggled with no-call, no-shows. Maybe quality or safety issues have burned you in the past. Temp-To-Hire lets you test that match before you bring someone fully onto your books.
Where employers get into trouble is when they use temp-to-hire because they're afraid to commit, but they still act like it's a guaranteed path. So the job posting says temp-to-hire, the worker thinks, awesome, I'm in line for a permanent spot. And then the internal reality is, we'll convert a few, maybe, if we get budget. That's where frustration builds.
If you're an employer or a staffing pro, you can avoid that by asking one simple question before you write the requisition. Under what conditions would we absolutely be excited to hire this person on? If you can't answer that clearly, it's not a temp-to-hire role yet. It's a temp role.
And that leads right into building a real temp-to-hire playbook instead of winging it. Let's break that down, because this is where things either become predictable and fair or completely fuzzy.
Think of your temp-to-hire playbook as 4 pieces. Number 1, conversion criteria. Number 2, realistic timelines. Number 3, communication points. Number 4, how pay and benefits change at hire-on.
Let's start with conversion criteria. This doesn't have to be a 20-page document. It can be as simple as attendance, performance, safety, and attitude. For example, no more than 1 unexcused absence in 90 days. Meets production targets by week 4. No safety violations, and positive feedback from the team lead.
The key is not just having those criteria in your head. Share them. Tell your staffing partner. Tell the worker. When everyone knows what good looks like, you stop having those vague conversations where the worker feels blindsided at day 89.
Next, timelines. Please avoid the "we'll see" answer. If your typical conversion window is around 90 days, say that up front. You can say, our standard is around 90 days, but it depends on performance and business needs. We'll check in at 45 days and again at 75 days. That's honest and still flexible.
Then build in communication points. Decide who talks to the worker and when. Maybe it's the supervisor and the on-site coordinator. Maybe it's the recruiter at the agency. The important part is that someone says, here's where you stand, instead of letting silence do the talking.
And finally, be clear on how pay and benefits evolve at hire-on. If there's a raise when they go from temp to company payroll, say it. If benefits like health insurance or PTO kick in after conversion, outline that too. Workers don't expect the world, but they do want to understand the path.
Let me give a quick example of a simple script a hiring manager could use. Something like, this is a temp-to-hire role. Our goal is to bring people on full-time after about 90 days if performance and attendance are strong, and if our workload stays steady. If you're hitting your targets and showing up consistently, we'll talk to you at 60 days about where things stand.
That one sentence saves you so many awkward conversations later. And notice you kept flexibility. If workload stays steady. Employers sometimes worry that being transparent locks them in, but actually it does the opposite. It protects you because you set expectations early.
All right, let's flip the lens. If you're a job seeker on a temp-to-hire assignment right now, the most helpful mindset is this. You are in a 60 to 90-day live interview. Every shift is data for you and for them.
So what actually moves the needle? First, reliability. I know that sounds basic, but in warehouse and manufacturing environments, simply showing up on time every time is a superpower. If you're going to be late or out, call ahead. Document when you did. That alone separates you from a big chunk of the pack.
Second, safety. Supervisors notice who follows lockout procedures, who wears their PPE without being reminded, who doesn't cut corners to go faster. If you're unsure about a task, ask. That shows you're serious about going home in one piece, not just getting the job done at any cost.
Third, teamwork and attitude. In a lot of plants, the question isn't, can they lift 50 pounds? It's, do they complain all shift, or do they help the person next to them? Small things matter, like learning people's names, saying thanks when someone helps you, and stepping in when a line is backed up without being asked.
Now, let's talk about the question everyone's nervous to ask. When will I get hired on? You absolutely can ask about conversion without sounding pushy. The trick is to tie it to performance and curiosity, not entitlement.
Yeah, for example, you might say to your supervisor or your recruiter, I really like it here, and I'd love to be hired on full time. Can you share what you look for when you decide who to convert? Or, how am I doing so far compared to what you expect for temp-to-hire?
That wording does three things. It shows interest, it asks for clarity, and it opens the door for feedback. You're not demanding a guarantee. You're asking, what does success look like here? And am I on track?
Now, a quick word on red flags. If you ask about conversion and all you ever hear is, we'll see, just keep showing up, with no specifics, no timeline, no criteria, that's a sign you might be in an endless temp loop. Another red flag is if you've been there much longer than other people who already got hired on, and no one can explain why.
On the flip side, a good sign is when your recruiter or supervisor can say, most people convert around X days. Here's what we need to see, and here's how you're doing. You may not love every answer, but at least you're working with real information, not guesses.
Also, give yourself permission to evaluate the site. Ask yourself, do they train me properly, or do they just throw me in? Do I see people who've been hired on and stayed? Do supervisors treat temps with respect or like they're disposable? Temp to hire should be a two-way bridge, not just you trying to prove yourself at any cost.
All right, let's land this with a couple of simple action steps you can take today, whether you're on the hiring side or the job-seeking side.
If you're an employer or staffing pro, your one change for the next temp-to-hire requisition is this. Write down your conversion criteria and your typical timeline before you send the job out. Even if it's just 4 bullet points and around 90 days, that's enough to start being transparent with your team, your agency, and your workers.
If you're a job seeker, your one move on your current or next assignment is to schedule a quick check-in. That could be a call with your recruiter or a 2-minute conversation with your supervisor. Use one of those scripts we shared. Ask what they look for at conversion and how you're doing so far.
And now, that fast 3-point recap. Number 1, temp-to-hire is a bridge, not a promise. It works best when there's real long-term demand for the role and both sides treat it like a structured tryout.
Number 2, Employers need a simple temp-to-hire playbook, clear criteria, realistic timelines, planned check-ins, and honest pay and benefits info at HireOn. Transparency actually protects your flexibility and reduces churn.
Number 3. Job seekers should treat Temp-To-Hire like a 60 to 90-day interview. Nail reliability, safety, and teamwork. Ask smart questions about conversion. Watch for red flags. And remember, you're evaluating them too.
Thanks for spending a few minutes with us today on Workers.com Staffing Pulse. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep building better workplaces, one smart hire at a time. Let's dive in again soon.